A very, very, very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for choosing this minute to be with us. This is the NSSF Financial Literacy Program, and again, I say a very, very good afternoon. And indeed, it's an afternoon. This is the hour of the month when we get together and get together back to school. Before even I begin, these questions are coming and they're saying, what is January doing in December? And indeed, we are here to discuss January in December. What is January's money doing in December's money? What is it that is happening in your life that is going to affect January? And indeed, today we have a good panel of a good mix of panelists to just tell us about why do we mix January money and December money? Why are we talking about January issues in December? Do we need to talk about this? And this is the time we converge ourselves in a group, into a school, and say, let's talk about money. Let's learn about money. Let's discuss money. Let's have a discussion around money. Let us be on that table of grown-ups. It's only the table of grown-ups that discusses money. My name is Mboa Apollo, and I am the headmaster of this school. Proud to be always your headmaster, and lately a science teacher, so that I'm not left out by that salary raise. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll dive in right in and just start through this. So January, and if the back office team is kind enough to just relay my presentation as we prepare our panel of experts to come and address these issues. So we are in December and it is the festivities. We are going for our December Chivulu. Always December is a highlight month of the year. This is when we get our vouchers. This is when we get our 13th check. This is when we remember our relatives. This is when even some of our parents remember that we have children, or we remember that we have parents. This is when we get together, marry, and have fun, have life, celebrate each other. But it's also that month where our expenses go up, and today we'll discuss that. It's not my place to discuss. I'll leave it to the experts, but remember, every one of you is an expert in money. You have experience in money and you've been handling money, so these are just sharing their personal experiences. You are a bigger expert. Why do we do this? Again, as NSSF, you know our role is simple. Our role is to take money from you, keep it away from you, grow it while we keep it away from you, and then when we are eligible, we pay it back to you. But if we do this, and we are doing this very well, we are scoring, and this money gets to you and it does not help you, then we are not being of purpose to you. So the financial literacy program wants to reverse those statistics that people get their money and then lose their money within less than 2 years. We want to build a financially aware and empowered membership and national citizenry. When questions like, what is January doing in December? That is where we come in and say, let's talk about it financially, so that when you understand, you are financially aware. And then we also need to have our members. Each and every one of our members needs to have options. You are poor if you have a hefty sum of money at NSSF and you have no money elsewhere. You are poor. So we want you to have options. We want you to be confused with your options at 55. Which option do you want to start eating first? NSSF, your savings, your rentals, your farm. We want you to be confused. We want you to have those problems, and that is why we do this every time we have a chance and a platform to come to you. If the back office team is kind enough to go to the next slide. So we'll continue doing this, and we'll definitely be in your sitting rooms. We'll be everywhere, every chance we have in your life. But just to give you a small illustration, and if they are kind enough to just keep moving those slides, we'll get to that illustration. So there is the get part of money, and that get part is the responsibility, and I'm talking about the NSSF money here. To get the NSSF money, it's the responsibility of NSSF and your employer. You don't have any responsibility there. Your only responsibility is to show up at work and then get paid. When you get paid, we get money from you. We get 5% of your salary, and then we go to your employer. We go to your employer and get 10% from them. So for every 1 shilling we get from you, we get 2 shillings from the employer. And that responsibility is not yours. It is with NSSF. It is with the employer. And if your employer is not remitting, just let NSSF know. We will get that money. The keeping of the money at NSSF is NSSF's responsibility. We have had quite a number of discussions where we get into a group and then we are discussing on how NSSF should be keeping this money. That's your responsibility. Give the advice. But then the experts are seated at NSSF. 600 staff are looking at the 17 trillion, and that's their day-to-day job. What we are saying is just keep that money coming. Let's keep doing that. So for the 15% that comes to us every month from you diligently, we add interest to it. The keep and grow is NSSF's responsibility. And then we pay out money in 7 ways I think now. When you are of age, if you are 55, it's actually only at NSSF that the qualification for getting money is getting old. You get 55, you get money. You don't have to do anything else. All you have to do is wake up and you're 55, get your money. Your money, it's not NSSF money, it's your money. If you are 50 and you are not working, you can get your money from NSSF. If you are unable to work because of an illness, any illness, not headache, any illness, you can get your money. That's what we call the invalidity benefit. If you leave the country permanently, or you're an expatriate and you're going back to your home country, you will get your money. If you join the government, the police, the parliament as an MP, you will get money from NSSF. You will get your money from NSSF. So this payment part is also NSSF's responsibility. If you are eligible, it's our responsibility to make sure that you get paid. If you are 45 years and you have served for 10 years at NSSF, midterm access is yours. You can get your money. And in an unfortunate event, and this is the only event when you cannot get your money from NSSF, if you die prematurely, I will say prematurely because that is before 55, your survivors get their money, get your money. So, the get, up to this point, the get is the responsibility of the employer. The grow, the keep, responsibility of the NSSF and NSSF. The paying out, responsibility of NSSF. But the spending, where this money actually goes, that is your responsibility. That's entirely on you. So, your spend is usually inclined to the pattern you have had. If you have all the years while you are contributing at NSSF, you've been getting money and spending money, you have been a conduit of money, you are broke of money, you distribute money, money comes to you and nothing stays with you, your NSSF will follow the same pattern. You do not become different overnight. You are in charge of your money. Ladies and gentlemen, you are always in charge. Whether you want it or not, you are always in charge. Even if you choose not to be in charge, that's you taking charge and say, my being not in control is not being in charge. So ladies and gentlemen, the spend part, and this is the biggest responsibility, is on you. So up to this point, NSSF and your employer do the smallest roles. They have the easiest roles. You have the biggest. If the back office team here is, so this is what we see. We pay out about 70 billion on average monthly to NSSF members. In midterm access, by July 1st, we had paid out about 500 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, this is NSSF. This is money moving from NSSF to its owners, and we consistently ask ourselves, where is the money going? If the back office team is kind enough to go, we also see. Please go on. We also see. Just go on. We also see that 56% of our members seek financial advice from a relative, a household member. Now, you are getting your biggest check as NSSF, and you go to a relative. Ask them, I have my money, what do I do with it? That is why we see, and this is the final statistic which I want to share with you today. My panel is already chasing me from this microphone. Only 5% of the people who have embraced the workforce, this is both NSSF and the public sector, end up achieving financial independence after retirement. Ladies and gentlemen, I labor to do this because that's the only reason I am paid, and I'm paid very highly, to just, so that you do not end up in the 95% of the people. So these are the symptoms. Allow me to just go through a few of the symptoms that you will be broke in 2023, January. So someone was asking, why bring January into December? This is why. If you have spending plans finalized, but you have no income plans, you are going to be broke in January. Ladies and gentlemen, don't even be deceived how much you have now. In January, you are going to be broke. If you are open for plot, anyone who says we have Dubai, let's go. We have Bushenyi, let's go. If you are open for that plot and you have closed yourself to the reality that January needs money, you are going to be broke. If you are determined to fulfill a long-standing plan that you have never set aside a coin for, you will be broke. Some of you have always wished to go to a national park, to a game park, to see something, but you have never put aside money for that. You're going to be broke. If you fulfill that plan of yours, you will end up broke. If you are adamant about the reality that your income in December still is a monthly wage, you are sort of confusing yourself, and you say December maybe they pay different. Your 1 million they paid you in November is the same 1 million they are paying in December, but your expenses have gone up. January is finding you broke. If you are convinced that prudence and diligence are not for December, you leave us alone. We have been prudent. Let us enjoy. If you think enjoying is the lack of prudence and diligence, you are going to be broke in January. If you are ready to eat, but you are not ready to hear that life continues after the holidays, you are going to be broke. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying these things, I'm not leaving myself out, nor am I leaving my panelists. Let me even turn to Brian and I tell him, Brian, if you are going to eat, and you close yourself to the reality, you're going to be broke. Or we will find ourselves in January and I don't want to look at you. If you have switched off to work mode, despite the fact that you have not delivered on your December targets, you are likely going to be broke.
Yeah.
I am telling, and I have stopped telling those people. Let me tell my panelists here, because this is what is going to happen. Right now, people are saying, I will see this next year. This is next year. You are just planning for your brokenness. Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the reason why we are talking about January in December. But the experts are going to say this more. If the back office team is kind enough to continue. So, what is it that we want to do? One, please, I just want to leave you with this, just to give you a reminder that schools will open on the 6th of February. This is a fact. They will open. Just because Christmas, and by the way, Christmas is none of your birthdays. Just because there is Christmas doesn't mean that your obligation for school fees has to be extended. On the 6th of February, schools are opening and you need fees. You need scholastic materials, and the schooling of your children is not a privilege that you are giving them. It is your obligation. And if you do not get to that, you do not fulfill that obligation, there is a law that can put you in prison. It is yours and yours alone. Not your brothers, not your neighbors, not the rich uncle. And the education of your children is not an investment for you. It's their investment, not yours. So ladies and gentlemen, we just want to put a few of these pointers in your head while you go for the holidays. But who am I? That these guys are going to do the rest of the thing. While you go for the holidays, kindly understand that the world owes you nothing. While some of you are expecting Miracle Man and you're expecting to go to the village, I was discussing with a colleague and she told me that people just show up in the village with nothing. Then they eat and then come back. They feel like the world owes food to them. But the world owes you nothing. The government owes you nothing. It's your responsibility to plan your holiday. And finally, I think I'll just leave it at that. Just for full disclosure, these are not my words. It's a message I get from the back office team, Jackie and Mariah and Aisha. They're the ones who give me this. You are either growing up or you are growing old. Please don't just grow old. Every Christmas you celebrate, you grow old. But are you growing up? Are you going to do the same thing over and over again? You enjoy in December and then January it is a different story. Growing up and growing old are different. Allow me to use French. Okukaddiwa n'okukula. Hope you are growing up this Christmas, these holidays. You have celebrated quite a number of holidays, and every holiday should give you a chance to say, how far have I grown up? Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to stop. If the back office team is kind enough to go to the last slide, I want to introduce my team. I have a team of experts here. But before we go to the team of experts, David, who has already started his holiday mode, is right now speaking from Johannesburg. David, you'll be introduced at quite a little bit, but I am envying you. When I grow up, I want to be like you. Let me show them who we have. Jackie, if you are kind enough can we know who we have on call? Are they male? Are they female? Are they old? Are they young? Are they growing up or growing old? So before we continue and I hand over to Brian Mulondo, who is already in the house here, looking sharp. Brian, you're looking sharp. You're looking, there's no worry in December.
Looking January.
I want to see you in January. I want to see you in January. The back office team, yes. What's your gender? Are you male? Are you female? Are you below 20? Are you between 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, above 50? Who are you? Please take off time, and we use the next 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds to do this. 64%. In the next 10 seconds, we close this. We want to know who we are speaking to, and then we'll want to take one other interesting poll to just understand where we lie before I hand you over to this team. What are our results? Let's end that poll and see what the results are. Yes, I have a crew of very unkind gentlemen. They don't want to show me these things. They want me to look like I am January. Okay. 62% are male. Ladies, we are missing in action. Ladies, 38% are female. So this discussion of grown-ups, ladies, let's get into this conversation. We don't have anyone below 20. They are probably doing a vacation bash somewhere. Between 20 to 30, we have 32%. Between 30 to 40, we have 44%. That's usually our majority. That is the time when things get done. And between 40 to 50, we have 15%. We don't have anyone above 50. Do I? If you put anyone above 50. Yes, that is who you are, Brian. The people you're going to be talking to are exactly that. I think we have about 9% that are above 50. If we could be kind enough to go to the second poll, I want to just do these polls, all of them at once, and then hand over to this team of esteemed panelists. I'm quite excited because on this panel, it's not my job to introduce them, but on this panel we have a content provider, a content creator, we have a fiscal manager, we have an HR manager. I mean, put this together. These guys see your money, these guys give you the jobs, these guys create the content where you're going to spend your money on. And I think it's unfair for Brian to be here because you're the one who creates our money exits in December. Yes, our second poll question, and then I hand over to the person who creates our money exits, and then he can discuss with the person who pays us out and the person who hires us to be paid. Poll two, if you're kind enough. Are we set? That one is asking, are we set? Yes, we are set. Thank you. Your holiday plan. What are the main expenses for the holiday? And this is a multiple single choice. What are the main expenses? I think let's first end this poll at this point. We are going to modify it a bit because we would want to have this poll have multiple choices and we see the most popular expense. But I'll get back to you, Brian, and I'll share with you what the people spend on at most. So we'll have that in the next bit. From myself and the back office team, want to hand to you, and you take over this ship. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. If this was a physical event, this is the time I'd be telling you Obugalo. So I think the studio audience can give me Obugalo. Guys, just clap. Those who are here, just clap. Obugalo, so we can make it real. One day we shall have a physical event. Welcome. As usual, this is one of the best places to be. Actually, the best place to be as we wrap up the year. And just looking at the polls, I'm yet to see what you're going to spend on the holiday, if it also includes something I have created as the content creator. But my name is Brian Mulondo. For those who don't know, I have the privilege of hosting the best breakfast experience on radio, the Mighty Breakfast on 933 KFM, together with Pfizer. I also have the privilege of producing the best shows in the city: Bump Love, Timeline, and of course, Ride with the Mulondos. I don't know if my panelists have watched that show. I will see. If you haven't watched the shows, I'll ask you one question. Ngotulabieko. But please type in the chat where are you watching from, and feel free to ask any question as we progress this. There, of course, lots of good reasons why people often feel down in January, whether you're an adult or a teen. But I think the Christmas period often produces a feeling of anticlimax. Either you have a great time or you didn't. So either of those, whatever is dragging you down, a few strategies will absolutely help you get through this. It is often called January, and there's a reason. This is probably the final session we are going to have on being the best in the new year. We cannot keep talking about this, right? My guest today, ladies and gentlemen, first online, joining us online, and he has already started his December enjoyments. And I think we share the same feelings, sir, that I am very jealous of him. Naye bintu bino birimu levels, I guess. So for us, our enjoyments are in Kampala. Mutaka David, who is the head of people and culture at Stanbic Bank Uganda. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Brian.
All
Good
right.
afternoon to everyone on the webinar, and good afternoon to you. I really love your jackets.
Thank you, sir. I got it from Joburg, where you are. Thank you so much for joining us, Dee. Also joining me is actually I went to school with her. You are the head girl. No. Wait. She was a student leader. Yeah? Ate she's tall, but you just see her from far. No mania, you have to scatter. Mariah Nantume Choyagala, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Brian. Good afternoon, members that are joining in. I'm happy to be here.
Mariah is the fiscal manager at Hutchison Center Research Institute. Let's start generally about, you as individuals. How do you prepare, first of all, the festive season? Do you, like all of us, save? Then you say, let me go to a massive destination and splash. Mariah.
Thank you very much, Brian. Indeed, for me as an individual, I save. And I always plan for my holidays and my activities. As a family, we do save and we plan for activities. So our budget, we operate a budget as a family, and our budget has a line expense called entertainment, holidays, vacations. So we always plan for these activities. They don't take us by surprise. They don't shock us. They don't leave a hole in our pockets such that we have to worry about January. So yes, indeed, we do save, we do plan for the activities.
Right.
Yeah.
David, you're in Johannesburg. Incidentally, also Joburg is where the headquarters of Standard Bank are. Is it leisure? It's business and leisure for you. Is it? And for you as an individual, I know you're in charge of people at the bank. How do you plan your own December into January?
Thanks, Brian. In Joburg for business mostly. So I should be back in Kampala before the week is out, and hopefully we can run into each other. I do save. I leave the planning to my wife and kids because I can't seem to get my head around anything. So I do the part that I can manage, just like NSS. If you do what you can and leave the rest to the people who should be. I try to make sure that part of that is pay for the things that will not forgive us, like the school fees, like the fixed costs that you spend on get that money out of the way and say, guys, this is all we have. Let us work within that. I think I find that takes away or maybe enforces the plans. Otherwise, plans have plans.
Right.
So I would say that would be my approach.
Right. You're in charge of people at the bank. In your years of
Yes.
experience, what have you seen that, the things that we usually do as employees in December, heading into this festive season? I am aware, people even take out loans to just, hook their families up. Some of us, when we go to the village, they even say, Abe Kampala batuse. So we have to show that we are in the building with to say baba way until sunset. What are some of those things that employees do during this time into January?
I think the first thing that we employees do, and we probably are guilty of supporting, is that we pay them early so that they get their shopping done early. They get their plans off to an early start. They try to beat the rush, and hopefully get some discounts. What I've seen employees do, and I think even before I was the head of people, as you say, is that as bankers or even as the employed, you have pressure to, like you've said, to prove that you've got it together. You're almost accounting for your time away from home or away from the village. And that guilt sometimes can force you to say, you know what, I was not just eating mangoes where I was.
Yeah.
Let me show you what I was doing. And I think that pressure is what can misguide you and lead you. If you don't increase your financial literacy, and I think Apollo and the team at NSF have done a great job of just saying, wealth starts with education. If you're not aware, you're dead. You will go with a chiriwo and look. December starts, the parties start probably in November. And you as the content provider will know that every week there's something. Last weekend, I think there was blankets and someone. So if people find use for your money, and that's why even for me, I am not immune. So spending on the things I must spend on first forces me to say, look, you don't have money. And if you don't have money, the day comes and passes and you discover that the next day that you didn't die. But a number of employees, I think, speaking as one of them who has been an employee, is the temptation to spend on the things that are there and to prove to your family that you've been working hard the whole year. You've probably not been spending enough time with them. You've not visited your parents in the last 6 months or been to the village. So you try to compensate for it with cash that you don't have.
Compensating it with cash that you do not have. That's a very important statement you have said. And it brings me to Mary. Companies, I think, will make those mistakes. We also want to reward our people in this time. We want to give them shopping vouchers, reward the best employees. Where do companies also mess up in this time?
Thank you, Brian. I think just like David has said, this is 1 month in the year that the companies are so generous. They pay us in advance. Much as they say in your appointment letter that your salary will be paid in arrears by this date. In December, that rule doesn't hold. The companies are so excited they pay us early. This morning I was just walking around and by virtue of my last name, because I'm in finance, people always say, Otwagala D. And when someone asks that question, they're asking, when are we getting our money? So as early as the 13th, I'm already receiving the question of when are we getting our salary?
Our money.
So one of the mistakes that the companies make is to actually make payments so early. The expectation is that the salary we receive in December is meant for January. So it begs the question, why do you give us the money as early as the 15th? There's something that was going around social media that if you work beyond this week, if by next week you're still working, then you should go back and study. It means the companies are closing up, most offices are closing up, and as they close up, most people have actually been paid, because if the payment officers are going on a break, that means everyone else has actually been paid and we are going home. So that's one of the mistakes that companies make. But companies do it in good faith because they are aware that this already is a month that everyone is happy to spend as much as they want to spend. The second one is the bonuses usually come around this time of the year. The third one is that the 13th check usually comes around this time of the year.
Yeah.
But also, the end of year Christmas voucher, shopping voucher comes around this same time of the year. For other people, the merit increases, the annual increments come around this time of the year, November, December. So it's really a trick knowing what. Thank you. It's really tricky managing all this money that comes in at one point in the year. So that's really one of the challenges that we have. But I think our behavior in December has been sponsored and supported by our employers.
You're the finance people. You encourage this reckless behavior. And I know for sure in January even loan sharks usually visit offices. Yeah. At your level, what guidance do you give to companies to manage? Yes, even me. I'll be honest. I think now I'm also part of this. You guys, you have brought me to this rope. At MultiChoice, I am the head of local content, and we are telling people just upgrade that decoder, and you'll watch all our shows. Yeah, and so people pay, right? People pay that money because we also have something we want from our clients, but it's also great entertainment, by the way. Apple and this for doing this karango, but I have to do it. So for what advice do you give to leaders or even individuals where you say, okay, goodwill, we have to pay by the 15th, issue the 13th check. In fact, in some companies, the 13th check comes in November, so they pay you twice. By January 1st, there is more month than salary, right? What do you tell your employees? Do you even tell us when you are paying us that please, like National Water, please use this money sparingly?
Thank you, Brian. I think one of the challenges is the education, the literacy, and this is why NSSF is doing this, to educate us, to train us and show us that yes, whereas the employer has the goodwill, the employer has given you all this money ahead of time, they are saying, we want to help you understand how you need to actually spend that money. So I think the starting point is the literacy, the education. The employer has the goodwill. The employer desires that you do not go through the holiday season and you come out distressed and it doesn't feel like a holiday, it doesn't feel like a restful time. But whereas they are doing that, I think it is important to sensitize people, to educate people, to say, yes, all this is coming. Be mindful that there is another month, that this money that we are giving you, much as we are giving it to you on the 15th, it is meant for January. I walked around my office and I asked a couple of my colleagues, and they'll be shocked to hear me say this. I asked, what is your month of January like? This is a question I asked them. What is your month of January like financially? And one of my colleagues told me January is 60 days. So for me to hear someone say that January is 60 days, he says literally the month is 60 days because I go through the month like I have never earned any money because my money is spent up in December, and by the time January starts, I don't have any money. Another colleague says, it's so long and difficult to go through January because we get the salary for December so early that by the time January comes, we don't have anything left. Yet we have to think about the school fees, like Headmaster was sharing that beware, February 6th, the school term is starting. So whereas the school term is coming, we have spent the money in December. So there's January that is so dry and blue, and then comes the school fees season and the scholastic materials. So I think literacy, and which is what NSSF is doing, is an important thing for us to know.
Right, David. Individuals get this money quickly. We spend it, like you said. There are so many events around town. You can't blame us for enjoyment. But what do you usually tell your people about January? Some of them even report. Actually, most people will get leave in December, say me, I take my annual leave in December and stay away from work, stay away from anything that takes money from them in January. What do you tell people, even HR practitioners on this call, on this webinar, to tell their people?
I think the alert right now to say, someone, again, using the meme, said there's no one has had to advise as, let's say, an Arsenal supporter. And they should add people going into January to that list. So advising people in such situations, it's like advising someone in love. It's almost, you've entered the hole. You're going to crash out on the other side. I think my advice is a couple of things. Like Apollo said, you're going to get money. And as you get money, the habits around, first keep it. Don't let it burn your pocket. Don't feel like you must spend. How do you keep it? Breathe in, count to 100. I don't know what other habits you need to build to say, at least let me see a couple of days out before I see what I must spend. Options to grow that, and hence, so just delay the spending. How can you delay the spending? Because I think, whereas you think the event last weekend was the best, the one for this weekend is probably even better, and the one on Christmas is actually the best. So I think finding habits that allow you to delay your spending would be, for me, one of the biggest opportunities. The other one is, like you said, I think Miriam said she saves. By the time now, December is coming, and the December salary and the January salary are the ones that are going to take you through your periods, you're already in trouble. So which partners do you have? NSSF takes, long-term money, but there are places like SACCOs. A few of us are in, investment clubs or groups. Where do you find places where you can save money that you can sort of say, oh, now this is what's happening for this? And thinking about, even as you think about January, because I think the January paying extends to February. Because even when the January salary comes, like you said, 6th Feb, headmasters are on your door. So you can almost have a full year of suffering. January is when you feel it the most, but it's a knock-on effect. And yet, just by changing one or two habits, because I think it is hard to just turn you can't just turn a car 360 or 180 degrees around. How do you start building in habits? Because look, I'm already in the hole. It is tough. So how do I just give myself time and space to say, look, they have paid me. I have 1 million shillings in the pocket now. I'm in Joburg and I'm looking at all these shops.
Yeah.
Even if I'm looking at all those shops, there's this pressure that, if I don't buy this shirt, tomorrow it won't be there. You become a 5-year-old all of a sudden. Just take a chance. Maybe tomorrow there'll be a better shirt. Add yourself a little time to just get out of that emotional high, I'd say that would be, for me, the biggest piece of work.
Right.
And then start to say, even though I can't change it now, my next December should be better. And I think that would be, for me, a more practical approach. I'm very impatient. I also like good things in life. So I am not going to fast. I have kids who are teenagers. They can beat me up. I'm not going to say Christmas has been suspended. So my parents are waiting, fuel prices are not going down. But I also think about some of the things that we think cannot go away. And I remember coming out of COVID, I remember 2020 at the end. Dr. Musenero came and said we can no longer travel. After we had been unlocked, and they said, no, wave 2, you can no longer travel. And we stayed in Kampala and people didn't die.
Yeah.
So even some of the things that you think are impossibilities to live without, how do you test? How do you find alternative ways of saying, guys, this is where we are at? Having conversations with your spouse on, your actual abilities or the money you have, because many times you don't want to talk about it because they'll ask you, what did you do with the rest of it? Maybe many of us have not been as prudent as as we should have been. So accountability now becomes a problem. And instead of accounting, you'd rather borrow and spend and find your own January waiting for you. I think kicking the can down the roads always seems like a better option.
Right.
But it's also an opportunity to just come clean.
Come clean. Maria, you want to add?
Yes, I want to add something. Thank you very much, David. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, says that habits are compound interest of self-improvement. So for us to, some of us think that this is how I have been, this is what I have always done, this is how I know how to do it. But you can actually develop habits that will foster that self-improvement. You have got to be willing, you have got to walk the talk, you've got to want to change and not feel like every January is a problem for you. So I like what David shared about planning. It's very, very important for you to plan. And we are talking about December and then January. What happens? What is the linkage in between there? It is very important for us to plan for our finances. You list down your expenses, you list down your incomes and see, what do I actually spend my money on? If you do not have that financial plan, then your money is going to direct you and show you where to go. And that is what usually happens to us in December. I was fortunate enough to visit one of my parents over the weekend, and I had my list of things that I had planned to buy. But along the way, I went with someone else, one of my sisters, and along the way, one of the things that happened, then she started to remind me, oh, there is so and so, there is so and so, there is so and so. The list ended up growing much wider than what I had actually planned. And that's what usually happens to us in this December. The fact that we do not plan for these activities then draws us to a whole different level, a whole different platform. We are excited by the vouchers that we have. We are excited by the money because the money has come in early, and then we end up spending all of it and we have nothing. I was also happy to hear this morning, as I spoke to one of my colleagues, she said, no, for me, I start planning for my December money and who I have to buy things for as early as October. So she already has her list, who she wants to actually buy things for and what she's going to buy for them. She has already planned for this. So the key thing, one, is for us to actually have that plan. Draw the plan and be able to guide yourself through it. Who are the people that I must go and see? Because you have your own relatives, you have your in-laws. I learned today from the headmaster that our in-laws are not relatives. So when you're thinking about your relatives, according to him, the in-laws are not relatives. They are an important aspect. They are an important part of us. We have our neighbors, our communities. We have so many other people. So as you plan for this holiday, as you plan for your December money, you've got to be able to think about every little expense there is that you actually need to spend on.
Right. This makes me think about we might be talking about this January blues right now, but companies also have their own January blues, right? Where that between April and June, before that budget is read by the Minister of Finance, we are finished. There's not going to be anything that we do. At your level, we have now, we're probably going to head into a very terrible year, an inflation-led recession. For companies whose January blues come probably in April, what's your advice to them?
Thank you, Brian. I think rightly so. A lot of the things that we are talking about today, we are talking about personal, but we are aware that companies also do plan. Companies also are expected to plan for their monies and for their activities. It is pertinent that companies sit down and also drive their plans and their activities given the financial and economic environment of the country. I found something interesting, that there was a building in Kampala, and I won't mention which one, where they had their budget for fuel a few months ago, before the fuel prices. Now we know that they've escalated and they've been high. They had their monthly budget for fuel, and they knew that that's what they spent on the property managers and everyone else, and that's how much they fuel the generator. So I think around 20th, they run the generator during the month, and around 20th, they have a blackout. There's no power, the generator is down, but the fuel was actually purchased.
Yeah.
That is expected. What they had not factored in is the amount of money that they were spending on fuel was the same, but the price of fuel had actually gone up. So which meant that they got less fuel than they ordinarily get every day. So they did not factor that in, and therefore they had a crisis where the building was in a blackout because the generator had no fuel. So that's what happens if the companies and the organizations do not read the times, the environment, the economic times, and the financial times, to understand where do we need to make adjustments. So as organizations, it's important also for them, as we plan for our years and our activities and our budgets, the budgets for the coming year may be totally different from the previous year's budget because of the inflation that we have seen, because of the fuel prices, because of the war in Russia and Ukraine that has affected many things. So it is important to understand the times, to understand where we are at, and be able to plan accordingly based on that.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to invite some questions of our in the comment section. Please tell us what you want to hear from our panelists. What are the things that you're also doing yourself as an individual? How do you manage to get through January? Do you spend on most important thing, or for you it is standard? January is always a tough period, and you have experienced that. If you've made changes that have worked, what are they? Or as an HR, or as the finance manager, or as a person in charge of departments, how do you even overcome these issues that are at the workplace through January? People even prefer to work from home in January. Yeah, they say, man, I can't afford the fuel, right? Let me work from home. Have you done some of these adjustments as a company so you can help people through this time? Talk to us, and we'll be able to get those comments and questions answered. Use the chat, and we'll take a look at that. In a few minutes, the headmaster will also be looking at a survey. We asked you, what are some of the things you spend on during this festive season? Are they even important? Or for you, if it's not there, then the festive season never happened. I want to bring in David. David, what do you think individuals, because January always happens, it has never changed. Individuals in companies, as employees, you earlier you talked about pretending not to spend. Are there things, for example, HRs can do for us, or even start with us, circles at company level, where we can keep our money and we say, Banang, in January, do this for me. All companies can advance people money during January. What are those things that we can do to pretend that even we are saving for this tough time?
Yeah.
Because there are also people who prosper in January. Yeah, we cannot be saying, suffering. Like some people prospered from COVID, right? They actually became, they say the millionaires in the world increased during COVID, while no one was literally at their official locations, office locations. So your take, David.
Yeah, I think what you finished with is very, very important. I think the conversation is important because you're most likely to change your habits or behaviors at anniversary or key moments in your life. You're more perceptive to change. So, and that's why people do New Year's resolutions. When you have your birthday going forward, you say, I've put these things behind me. I think this should be one of those. If you're already here and you have problems, I hate to disappoint you, but your problems are going to continue. Now, that doesn't mean that your narrative can't change. So part of it is what are you aspiring for? What are some of the things that you spent money on that actually excite you, that you enjoy and love? Because then they give you goals to set yourself for. Say, maybe next year, this year we have eaten 5 kilos of meat that I couldn't afford. Next year I must afford them. I must be able to pay for them. Because then you have 12 months, to which Mariah quoted for us that book, Atomic Habits. You have 12 months to plan for 5 kilos of meat. You have 12 months to plan for a village trip. You have 12 months to plan for that game park. You don't have, how many days are left? 2 weeks? So a week to Christmas? I mean, in that period, you're not being realistic in terms of what you want to do. So in my mind, borrow some of the things that you get from our workplaces. Half the time, I'm sure, Brian, you're making your people do self-reviews. What happened last week? How did that program go?
Yeah.
You do a lot of reviews. Our sales says, how did we do? A lot of the time when we look at our budgets, we don't go back to say, how well did we do on a scale of 1 to 10? Maybe I'll rate myself a 5. Why? These are the 3 things. What are the things I'm going to take out? How do I score myself a 7, an 8, a 9, a 10 going forward? And I think building in those habits then says, my next December will be different. My next January will be different. And so in my mind is to say, this is almost a wake-up call. You're here. Unfortunately, headmaster has come to wake you up when the canes are already coming, but take the canes, right? Take the canes. It is part of repentance. When you repent, sometimes the punishment still stays, but you change your future. So in my mind, those are the things I'd say, what can you learn from your workplace? A lot of the businesses have very good practices, which we do even on others, the people who report to us, but for ourselves, we don't do. Involve your family in making these budgets, because some of the times, even the things you think your family will appreciate, they actually don't like, right? So
it's not important
build
to
those
them.
relationships. Yeah, just say, look, guys, this is what would be a great holiday. And even if we can't afford it this year, maybe a year from now, 2 years from now. So thinking long term allows you to build in the things and change the narrative. So you can then stand one day and testify that used to be me. And ever since I met Brian on the show, it was 401, Tuesday, December 13th, I changed. And I said, I've said goodbye to bad Januaries and Decembers.
Yeah.
For me, January is going to be the best month of my life. Right. And whether you use vision boards, whether you use accountability partners, at least you have a goal that you've set that says, maybe not this year, but going forward, I have February, 10 more months to plan for my December. And I think that will allow you to see where your real value lies. Because February comes, or even March, let's say, comes, and you just pretend like you've never heard of January before. And as I said, it is easier to advise a man in love than, January sufferers, or whatever the month is that you suffer. And so in my mind, this is just a key moment for you to reflect and say, I can change my life. And even if you're successful now, how do you do better? I think we can always all do better. We can always do more things. And like I said, even people who have prospered, how can we help people who are, I think the other piece is, how can you help someone? And not give them free money, because the headmaster doesn't advise that. But how can you help someone? If each of us reach out and help one of us, who knows?
Right. I love that. Each one, for lack of better, each one reach one, right? Yeah, each one reach one.
Point.
Yeah, and that is why platforms like this are very important for us. So thank you, David. I want to hear from the headmaster. Give us some chiboko. What do we spend on that is probably not important? I hope the poll is giving us some honest numbers. Apple.
Thank you, Brian, and you've been redeemed. I was enlisting you on the people who need disciplinary because you kept saying Apollo. This is Sir Headmaster Sir. Repeat that.
Headmaster Sir.
Thank you. Now you're getting there. And David, that goes for you too. It is Sir Headmaster Sir. For full disclosure, David gave me my first job
Oh,
but now he has to call me Sir Headmaster, sir.
how things change.
David, please repeat after me, Sir Headmaster, sir. Yes, as David gets
Sir
there.
Headmaster, sir.
Thank you, thank
Yeah.
you. Yes. Now that is where what they call growing up, and I hope that the many Christmases I have had can reflect that. Yes, thank you so much. One of the things I've learned so far is, I think this needs to go for the listeners there. They have onboarded it as part of the new excuses. Companies sponsor our expenditure. Yeah, so now people are going to start saying, in fact, I've been diligent. It's just this company that is paying me early.
Simple, they overpay early.
They overpay early and they pay us those things. So they're sort of like asking us. But thank you so much, Brian. Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, David. This is quite refreshing. Now, there is a poll that we're attempting to do, but we felt we needed to change some bits of it. Now we're going to redo it, and this is just for the guidance of our panel here. The back office team, if they are now kind enough, last time they just decided not to be kind to me, but some had also gone on holiday mode. We want to understand just a few questions, and as it comes in there, what are those things? What are your main expenses for the holidays? What are the main expenses for the holidays? I know some of you, about 150 of you had already answered it, but kindly let's re-answer this for the benefit of this team. What are your main expenses? I don't know if it's running. Kindly confirm if it's running. Yes, it is running. What are the main expenses for this holiday? What are you spending on? What are those things? And you can pick 1, 2, 3, or anything. But on the list there, we have food and beverages, we have transport to the village, parties, we have gifts, we have transport for Christmas activities, we have relatives and in-laws, we have concerts, we have Christmas lunch. What are those? What are your main expenses for this Christmas? Are you traveling to the village? Do you need transport? Are you taking a lift? Are you doing food at home? Are you doing Christmas lunch? What are those? What are the things that in your order of priority that are taking a lot of your money? And what are the sources of income that meet your holiday expenses? What sources of income? And in there we have the salary, we have Kameza. Kameza is really handy for not just the women but also the men lately, because women you have really musukiriza okufuna emisale mingi. Excuse me. We have vouchers from work. Yes, vouchers from work. In here I need to add vouchers from people who just want to celebrate us. I know David would want to celebrate me this Christmas. Please send a voucher. We don't, and then if we don't take gifts, but just send a voucher. It is okay. That one I can explain to HR. Savings. We have gifts. We have gifts from friends. I do not know. There is miracle money. What is it that works for you? My activities, my friends, my relatives will take care of my expenses. There is that plan. But for you, all you need to do is show up. You will have Christmas, will be there. You don't have to spend anything, but your relatives spend everything on you. Kindly, let's stop that in the next. Have you stopped it? Let's just stop that, and we understand what the results show. Share with us that. Yes, David, Brian, and Maria. This is what the people have said. The thing that takes most of their money in the holidays is food and beverages. We were being polite, so food and beer. Transport to the village is more popular than parties, than gifts. This is in popularity. Let me go in order. So food is the most popular thing that everyone most people spend on. This is the most popular. Relatives and in-laws. Gifts to relatives and in-laws is the second most. Christmas lunch. No, before Christmas lunch we have transport to the village. Transport to the village is also taking a very huge spend on our burden. And then we have the Christmas lunch coming in there. From Christmas lunch, we have parties. No, we have gifts, then the parties, then home renovations. home renovations coming, and then concerts. Brian, I hope you are not having any concert this year because people are saying we shall spend less. We shall spend less. I think they are postponing this for New Year's, eh? There is that bit. What are the sources of income? 80. The popularity at 88% is salary. So our salary, meaning we can, if our salaries are this big, that means we have the ability of actually having the same life we are having in December from January to December, because our salaries are supporting most of these activities. I don't know how, I don't know who stretches this up, but it is sort of for most of us. Savings, there's a huge number of people also who save towards Christmas. Vouchers from work, thank you people who are giving vouchers. I'm not saying anything, I can't be a beggar here, but I'm just reminding in case NSSF is hearing. Vouchers from work, also as we are waiting, I'm not saying anything, but you have heard the question. Vouchers from work, that is the next bit. Miracle money. Miracle money comes in number 4.
Wow.
Yes. There is a miracle money comes up. Eh? People spend by faith. You know, you can spend money you don't have with anticipation of a miracle.
Sponsors.
Yeah. And then we have gifts from friends. There's another group there that says about 1% that they don't know. And then my relatives my friends will take care of me coming in before I do not know. So that is where we lie. That's the people who are we missed loans, of course. Our apologies. There's also loans, but I think maybe when another time we'll do. So Brian,
Yeah.
that is what we look like this December, going into January. Maria, that's what we look like. Now we are looking at you. I'm looking at Maria and David in a different light. They are part of the conspiracy that has sponsored spending. And then Brian is, of course, clapping because he's on the other side that, yes, upgrade this December. Thank you so much, Brian. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Headmaster. So I want to quickly go through some of the comments. Betty Mwebas are saying, functions are also very many around this period, Vanag. Yet you are required to contribute in the name of building social capital. But we don't miss any event. You call it networking. The Davids, human capital development. That's what they call it. Kenneth Wepondi is saying, I find it hard to put aside some money. My net pay is 1.5 million. I have a spouse who lost her job during COVID. My job comes with no allowances. I find myself struggle to make ends meet. So I think maybe the fiscal manager can help us break down that 1.5 with a dependent. Yeah, you can help us do that. And the same Opondi asks, how can I manage my finances vis-a-vis these tiny monies, right? Albert Otim, I used to hustle with January, you guys, until I started planning for the festive season expenses in January. Since then, I don't want to use December salary for festive season spending. Nice. Hassan Courage, you're asking, how can we best plan for financial emergencies, especially in this period? Maria, let's start with you.
Thank you very much, Brian. I'll start with the person who said that they earn 1.5. They have a take home of 1.5 million, and they're wondering. They find it very difficult to save. Saving is a culture, and it is a habit that we actually build and grow. Saving is not about how much; it's actually about consistency. If you are able to put aside an amount, an agreed amount every month, and do it consistently, you will be amazed at how much you can put aside. And for you to save, you need to be able to allow yourself to save before you spend, because you'll be able to live on what is left after saving. So I would like to encourage, I've forgotten the person, but I've forgotten the name, but I'd like to encourage Kenneth that one, you've got to decide that you can actually save and decide on an amount, however small it is, that you can actually put aside every month, and be consistent with that amount, you will be able to live within the amount that you actually have left after you've decided to put that amount aside. And a certain figure can be about 10%, because when you're planning for your money, I started with saying we need to be able to plan for our resources. So if you list your expenses and you list your incomes, one of the items that must feature on your expenses should actually be your savings. If you're a church goer like me, the tithe must rank high up there.
Non-negotiable.
It's non-negotiable. Then comes the savings. Those rank in the essential category. When I'm listing my expenses, I have what we call essential, I have what I call optional, and then I have others. So there are things that are in the essential. If you have to pay school fees is in the essential.
Yeah.
You have no way around it. If you're renting, rent is in the essential. Otherwise, the landlord will come and throw you out. So once you choose in your mind and you decide that I must put aside at least 10% of my money every month with a goal in mind, and the goal could be for holiday expenses in December, and you start to put this money aside, you'll actually be surprised at how much it will be. I was interacting with a colleague of mine that mentioned that she puts aside a certain amount of money every month towards shopping for her children's clothes every December. The children have grown, and now they spend less. So they find themselves with a lot of excess money that has actually been saved towards that same goal without strain. So there is intentionality, there is purpose in doing that. So it's never about how much, it's about the consistency with which you do it.
Consistency.
Yes.
Yeah. I recently I also went on like my annual leave. I was blessed to go to Joburg, and I've shopped clothes for my children until 2024. Teri kuddamu gula lugoyi. But I've been saving that money for 1 year. So you're very right about that. I recently shared on my show that I've even already bought Christmas gifts for my kids. How? At the beginning, I told them, whoever performs better than this, you get this gift. Hey. So of course, I thought things were for joking, and in the first time they brought a good report. So I woke up, I said, hey, banabana very determined. So by 1st November, right? Hey, there's a popular supermarket here which was closing, and it gave us so many discounts, right? So I went and bought. And I think some of us don't look out for those things. Yeah? We are never looking out for good deals. Some of us, we are good deal ambassadors. Even food. Buy one, get one free burger. We want such things. And some of us think, oh, that's cheapening myself because I work, in like Hutchison, Bananda Babatia, right? Yes, and some of us kasita tuwulira nti every Tuesday, waliyo pizza. Buy large, get a medium. Mariah, you are my guy. You are my guy. Please don't jump out of this thing. That's when we take our kids out. To be honest, because you know that the money doesn't make sense, right? David, when you hear comments like this, questions like this, what comes to your mind? You have a man who earns 1.5 million. In fact, for you HR practitioners, you tell us, the salary bracket is over C1, and it's hard to get to D1 unless you do the following things. Do you, as heads of people and culture, take time off to teach your people about some of these small shifts they can make?
Yeah, I think it's a very important part of building your career. And Brian, I'm sure you didn't start where you are. For those of us who have been here long enough, we remember where you started and what you've done. Not everyone has been as successful as you have. And I think for anyone with a job, the first thing to realize that it is a platform. The salary is something you take out immediately, but that job is a platform. So how do you use that job to to do more than just what it's paid for. So if you see, for example, headmaster, I'm sure if his boss had that, he calls himself headmaster, or he proposed to his boss he was going to call himself headmaster, he probably would have refused. But he has gone and created a brand and made a difference and created value for so many people that he will see more opportunities to make more than the 1.5 million through some shape or form, right? So the 1.5 million, don't close yourself in that box. So what else is in that job that gives you opportunities? Whether those are networks, people you support, people who give you ideas that you meet on a daily basis as you serve them. Because if you serve them, that may I get 1.5 million, this is my level of service. Even someone who could have given you an opportunity or seen you to promote you will not see you. So that's the first point. The second I want to make and re-emphasize from what we started with, that this is just a reflection point of where your scorecard is. Your tomorrow can be better than your today. I think Mariah, who goes to church, will know that song. So it is about your tomorrow. Your today is this scorecard. You can't deny it, accept it, take it in. I think the courage and maturity to say, this is how I have done, and I want different tomorrow, allows you to project forward and say what's possible, and hence what habits must I build in, which partners do I need, who must I work with, who must I not work with. I also want to talk about networking, because sometimes we just spray and pray. I give money to everyone and hope that they come back to me. That is a very, I don't know what the words to use. It's a hopeless strategy, right? So if I know that Brian is someone I want to connect with, do we share the same values? Do I see opportunities of value creation and, partnering? Then I need to sort of say selectively, where must I invest? And investing doesn't mean, in terms of my contributions, in terms of my time, in terms of caring, in terms of just saying, this is why, and maybe not even in the short term, because it seems like my contribution is that. So that my contribution can be on top of everything else I'm doing, to say I care about Brian's aspirations. And as a result, I'll be part of his network. And I'll continue to nurture that relationship. So I'd say if you look at the 10 people that you sort of want to network with and say on a scale of 1 to 10, where is this relationship? Again, I like the scale of 1 to 10. It's a simple one. Even people who don't know math can do it. Where would I like to take it? And then which are the top 3 I would prioritize? People will understand. Some of the people you give money won't even remember you, right? So being comfortable in your own skin, to say this is a journey I'm on, is really, really important. Because sometimes you're trying to impress people who really don't care about you, and the headmaster keeps saying those things. You must find the courage to just find you and selectively choose what you can do. And if you can't do it, and the person will only add you to the network because of your contribution, maybe it's a good thing that you're losing them now. So I'd say the money you want, someone is earning it somewhere. In your organization, in your network, in your friends, maybe, and if it's not among your friends, please change your friends also. Find new friends. Let them help you aspire. Let them help you think about a better tomorrow. And talk about it, build habits. I mean, we talk about concerts and the next person coming, more than which Nigerian artist is coming. We do research. We do what? Instead of just doing some little research on how can I do my job better? Who else does this sort of job and how much do they get paid? What skills do they have? How else could I use this platform? Right. So, like you said, Brian, the number of platforms you have, you mentioned around 6 shows you're producing, you're here. I don't think anyone came and said, Brian, here are the things.
Yeah.
You've invested in that platform. I don't know, someone made a joke once that TV producers are paid 50K or 20K, I don't remember, in the middle of
50K.
lockdown. Yeah. But the opportunity of that platform to say, how many other shows can I do? Do I then go and do weddings as an MC?
Yeah.
Do I showcase and practice my skill here so that it grows and serves me tomorrow? I think for me, those are the things. Your job is a platform. It is not that 1.5 million or 500,000, whatever the amount is, might be so little. but how do you use that platform to see more value, to create more value, to serve more people, and also tie it to your dreams, because then you start to see opportunities.
Oh, that is where they say that is a tweetable tweet. Your job is your platform. I think even some people ask me, but Mulondo, where do you work? And I tell them I don't work. I serve at these places. Yeah. Your job is your platform. That's why sometimes in the conversations of 50K, I don't indulge, because some jobs, will take you to your next level, right? Katongole Joseph, well said, David. Katongole Joseph is asking, but how can you truly escape a trap where an entrepreneur started up a business, but the economy, the economy forces drag it to the ground completely. Yet the salary isn't enough for our standard of living. I need guidance, because entrepreneurship hath become a chemistry. Fiscal manager. Let's talk issues of fiscal policy. Someone was asked about fiscal policy, and we had French. What do you do? Business is becoming even harder.
Thank you, Brian. I think we need to agree that we are all not cut out for entrepreneurship. I think that's one fact that has failed to sink in. Sometimes we all think I must have a side hustle. Like I must have something else that I do, because Sir Headmaster Sir has told us we cannot live on one source of income. You
Yeah.
must have multiple sources of income. So I must have my chapati stall. These days there is pilau. I don't know where you guys stay. There are those riders that pass through the neighborhood and they're selling pilau, but in my neighborhood they are there. There are all these kinds of businesses, and we all want to get involved in those different kinds of businesses. And it's not bad and it's not wrong to get involved in business, to do entrepreneurship, but I think it is important for us to get involved in something that you have very good knowledge about, and something that you can easily supervise. But also, most importantly, something that you're passionate about, something that you will wake up to do even when no one is actually paying you to do it. For people like me that are risk averse, we choose the less risky platforms to invest in, or to do our investments, and we go the unit trust and money markets route. Many people don't think that this is an investment, but if you do not have the time to supervise and run the business, to get your hands into the entrepreneurship, then why not invest your money, give your money to the likes of Zeno and all those other people that will invest your money for you and be able to return interest for you. And because they return interest for you on a daily, you're able to realize an amount of money. Your money increases in a way that you do not know, that you will not see. So I think for business, that's for entrepreneurship. Really, that's really what I can say. It's important for you to get involved in a business that you're very familiar with, in a business that you're passionate about, and in a business that you can actually have time to supervise.
In a business that you have time to supervise. I think, Maria, even at the broader level, let us know some of the things that we can do. Stuff like we talked about, prioritizing our needs. You give that thing, that's what you do at your home. You have priorities, the essentials. You have the optional. It is necessary, but it's not important.
Yeah.
What other things can we do?
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. I think the starting area, like I said, is to plan for your money, to guide your money. Have a spending plan. List down your expenses, list down your incomes. If your expenses outweigh your incomes, then therein lies a problem. You're living beyond your means. You're not aware, but you're living beyond your means. So that's the starting point. The second point is for you to prioritize. Not everything is a need. Some things are wants. David alluded to delayed gratification. Like if you delay a day or two, about something that you thought you really need, then you actually don't need it, you know. I found someone say, I really need this shoe. And my question is, do you need the shoe or do you want the shoe? The two things are different.
How do you separate the want and the need?
The need should be something that you cannot do without. If you can put on another pair of shoes and go for that same function, then it turns out to be a want. It actually is not a need. If you have shoes in your closet that you have not worn for the last 3 months, then you have spent money on wants and not needs. So you need to go back and look through your closet, your clothes, your shoes, your handbags for ladies, your children's toys. I know someone who's always buying children's toys. Every time they go out with the children, they have to buy something. Or if they are going away for a sleepover, they actually buy children toys to make them feel like mommy is going away, but it is okay.
And more pressure. The kids must go to the sleepover with something new.
So that's how you assess
pressure.
if you're actually spending money on wants or needs. So if you're buying things that you will use only once and do not use them for the next 3 months, then those are wants. They are not actually needs. For me, I have a countable number of pair of shoes in the house, and you know, so it's important for you to assess and be able to tell which are my wants, which are actually my needs. And that way you're able to guide and direct. But it's also important to plan for your purchases and look out for discounts, like you said. You know, Brian and I went to the same school, the only senior school in this country.
Say it again. Did the headmaster go there? I doubt.
The only senior school in this country. The rest are secondary schools. It's the only senior school.
Senior secondary boys and girls.
So I think I just realized that I learned how to save and look for discounts at an early stage in life. Because my brother and I were fortunate to go to the same school, and sometimes we would walk half the distance home and then take the taxi the rest of the distance and then save the rest of the money. The thing that I'm trying to say now at this stage is you look out for where are the discounts. Where is the buy one get one free, you know. City Oil gives 2 kilograms of Porsche for every 20 liters of oil that you fuel that you take. You know, that has been ongoing for quite a while. Yes, but we are spending money on Porsche that is 4,000 shillings a kilogram. You know, so the other day someone was arguing with me that the money that you pay for fuel, you actually end up paying for the Porsche. I said, where do you fuel? We did the computation. The only balance they had is 900 shillings. Can 900 shillings buy 2 kilograms of Porsche?
In which economy?
So that's what I'm trying to say. Look out for where you can actually get discounts. You know, the pizzas, the burgers, the different sales that are actually on.
The NSSF card gives you discount when you use it. Why aren't you using it?
You know,
you are there feeling like a black card. Swipe it. You have a card that gives you discounts.
Yeah.
Nze ndi muntu wa discount. Njagala ebyo.
Bikola.
Yeah, bikola.
But also the other important thing to do as we think about managing our money and managing our December expenses is you need to be able to record your expenses. You cannot improve what you do not monitor. If you're not monitoring, if you do not know what you spend on something, then you cannot improve it. I asked someone a question today, do you know how much money you spend on food in a month? And they could not actually answer that question. So how can you know that you're actually spending much more if you have not monitored it? So it is very important for you to take a record. Once you take a record, if you started with the planning, the listing of the incomes and the expenses, then you can go back and see how am I actually doing alongside this. If you do not do that, then you're not able to improve that. You're not able to know where can I actually improve, what can I do differently. The other important thing that I always tell people, and people think that if you're, counting every coin, looking at this line and this line expense, then you're not going to be generous, you're going to be very frugal, you're going to keep all your money to yourself. That's not true. I actually encourage people to be very generous, to be able to give, to plan for the so-called black tax that people call it. I don't
Yeah.
actually agree with the term black tax because I believe in generosity and giving. But you need to be able to plan for that which you're going to give, for that
Yeah.
which you're going to share with the rest of the people. So how do you do that? You plan, you list your people, you list your how much money do you have to spend on social functions? How much money do you have to spend on, social events and all those other activities? Mark Batterson, in his book Double Blessing, says that God blesses you to raise your standard of giving and not just your standard of living. So it is important for you to actually give, to share what you have with others. Thank you.
This is good stuff. David, let me bring you in. I don't know if you went to a senior school, but but anything you want to add on top of what Maria has said?
No, I think Maria has said very many great things. And one of the things that I pick up is Maria reads. So please, if you're on the line, read something to raise your level of giving.
Yeah.
And I think Musomesa taught us that those habits, your wealth is 95% habits. So where you are now is a reflection of your level of habits, where your habits are. And if you improved each of those by 2 to 5%, you'd never know what, we minimize small things, but there's power in compounding. Someone said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. So how do you not minimize small changes in your life, because that will compound? The second piece is think over the long term. And I think why habits are important. You spoke about buying gifts for kids every time. In my past life, I used to buy gifts for my kids and they throw them away after one day. And a lot of the time I was buying things out of guilt. But once I started spending time with the children, understanding what they like, listening to their stories, now they even tell me what gifts, what you should spend money on, what is useless and what's not. So I no longer have to spend money to compensate for some of the things that I should be doing as a parent. So many times, a lot of the spending we're doing is to compensate for not being good people, right? You're almost paying your time in money, right? So where do you spend your time as part of habits? Do you think long-term? Do you build healthy habits like reading a book, going to your church? If tithing is important to you, doing those things, because that builds the money thermometer that, again, Headmaster talks about. Because your thermometer right now maybe can handle only 1 million shillings. If they put it 2 million, it will burst, right? So how do you build a thermometer that will carry more and allow you to do more with your life? Because I think, whereas we are talking about beating the January blues, I think we can scale that to a point of, can we talk about prosperity, not just survival? And growth happens one day at a time. Over time, you don't see it happening, but one day you look back and you're like, wow, look, that used to be me and this is me now. And then you can sort of pay it going forward. So I'd say the habits that Musomesa talks about, when you get money, don't go straight to spending it. Keep it, grow it, deploy it, sustain it, then eat it. I think just that sequencing alone creates a delay from here to here. If you put in even an extra day of delay and just measure that to the point that you can't monitor what you improve. From the point I got money, I used to take 1 day to spend, now I take 2 days. What has that given me? I used to, just keep, grow, deploy, sustain, eat. Just adding in those 4 extra steps will do that. In terms of diversification, again, of your money, have multiple sources of income. The risky things of chapati and pilau sellers, and I have bought a boda should only be a certain percentage of your investments. If it is 100% of your investments, you're in trouble, right? So how do you bucket your investments to say maybe 40% is cash, close to cash, Another 40% is this, another maybe the 20% is the high risk investments. And high risk investments, especially if you keep money, and you said, Brian, you like discounts.
Yeah.
You can't take advantage of discounts if you have not saved. Because you find a discount at game, that's the day you don't have a single shilling, right? But if you've saved and delayed your from get to spend, then you can look around. You can say, should I buy a car of 10 million or of 20 million, right? You will get people who, you will find the opportunities because you are bidding your time. You're not acting on the spur of the moment. You've intentionally said, I am not ready to play today. I will play tomorrow. And tomorrow I'll be better prepared. Mm-hmm. So you play on your own terms, right? You're not playing pressure games. You know how someone says, you come and we play now. Because you're not ready, they beat you. Kanyume, as we used to call it in football, in my college that we went to. But if you're prepared, then you'll win a game. And life is a very important game. We only live once. So how do we spend more time, more deliberately around this one life we have on the things that matter? That will be my summary remarks.
Thank you very much, David. You guys, you're dropping wisdom. Yeah? And FYI for our people who are online, these are not motivational speakers. Because sometimes you tell us our motivational speakers, I started with a feather. You've seen the quality. Now I have, 1,000 birds. These are people who have done the time. Brian Bekunda asks, as a teacher, what business can I supervise that I'm required to keep at school? Marking scripts. Some guidance, please. We'll start with you, Mariah.
Thank you, Brian. Like I said, when we choose to invest or diversify our money, how we spend our investment depends on what business we can actually supervise. As a teacher, you need to ask yourself, what is it that you're passionate about? What is it that you can do outside the teaching? And that should be something that drives where you go and what you can do. It may not necessarily be what everyone else is doing, but it has got to be something that creates a need for others. Where the need arises, then that's where you come in to fill a gap and charge for that gap that you're feeling. Like David has shared, that we have the risky kind of business. A portion of our investment can go into the risky kind where, one day the border guy can disappear. And you never, like his number has never existed and you can't trace him and you didn't even know where he stays. And all the people that signed him off are nowhere to be seen. So that's risky. But what else can you actually do that will not require you to be involved in there, that will not require you to even spend up all your money? That's the kind of business that you can think of and be able to invest in such. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
David.
Yeah, I'd say some of the things that you can lend government money, right? Treasury bills for as little as 100,000. The 1 year bill, I think, is at about 11 or so percent, 10 point something. I've not followed, but it's above 10%. You'll find very few businesses that give you 10% return for just putting your money there, right? You'll get a monthly statement. They'll pay you every 6 months, and you keep investing that. And as the money grows, then you go to the riskier businesses. I think part of our challenge is I want to be like Brian today, yet I'm not putting the amount of work Brian has put in. And I think Brian is not a smart guy to put in work. I am trying to cut corners. I'd say find safe investments until you're ready for a portion of your money to take more risky investments, but also investments that you care about, so that even if they don't make it, you've made the difference to someone. I think for me, that would be my approach to investment. Mm-hmm. Too many of us want to invest to make money today and make it and finish. But I think if you think about a problem in your area and partners and things, I think that's where the new value will come from. That's where the economy will grow. If you're passionate about it, find ways. But again, it's about that same sequence. Keep, grow. So get your money, keep it, grow it, deploy, sustain. Because when you have some money, it's even easier to borrow more, right? So how you do that, I think for me is the more important thing. So find safe vehicles, unit trusts. What else is there? If you have a lump sum of money, maybe even bonds. They're at about 17% for a 3-year bond. I think some of them are 20%. You won't find any business like that. The bigger the investment, of course, you need to save for it. So I don't want to be like, again, the motivational speaker that buy a house and then wait for this and that and that. I think understanding that your horizon, a 10-year horizon seems like a long time, but it is such a short time. I've been in this where I work for 10 years. I thought I'd stay 2 years. It's now my 12th year and I'm still here. So how I utilize that time is really, really important. But thinking about that horizon will allow you to not put yourself under pressure to make decisions that you must make as if the world is ending today. And it will also stop you from comparing yourself to others and just saying, it is my own race. Money is a personal game. And because you're thinking long term, you'll build on rocks, again, to use the Bible, instead of building on sand. Sometimes you build on sand, your tower becomes too tall, it disappears just like that. And I think in my mind, how do you find ways to create sustainability versus, now you see me, Ezra Michael, I am seated in Nambole, next you don't see me, right? So how do I stay here for the long haul? And I think given that this is our country, we want to build it for the long term, that would be my advice. So look around you, but take the safe vehicles. There are people who know investments, unit trusts, bonds, the treasury bills. Those are safe things. As you build it up, then you can find, maybe you like boda bodas, maybe you like rice, I don't know, maybe you like coffee. You can then put a portion to test and learn. Because I think too many times you want to become an expert without putting the fees of going to that senior secondary school of investment. And you can't graduate without going to the school.
There you go. There are some people who are asking for your contacts, David and Maria. I think we'll do that later, but let me invite Headmaster to first align us. What are you, from what you've heard, any addition?
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very, very much. I am seeing the comments, and I will need to apologize in advance that we will not be able to attend to all the comments, but just keep them coming. There is quite a lot of wisdom flowing here, and Brian, I'm challenging you, the content creator. We are the content producers now. We please create something out of this, because there's quite a lot of wisdom doing this. Allow me to first extend my gratitude to Renzori Natural Mineral Water, who always feed us with natural mineral water every time we are having this. And David, there is a bottle for you, or 2 or 3, depending on. Don't buy water for Christmas. Courtesy of NSSF, but in short, courtesy of Renzori Mineral Water, who have taken up that task of doing this for us every time we meet. I just want to comment on as we wind up to the next bit, and I want to just pick up a few things and also attempt to attend to some of them. First, I want to add, I think we need to come up with a call center that is a discount center, the one that can tell you about discounts. So, and I've seen the people here from Mengo Senior School are quite the epicenter. For us who went to college school, then we shall have to ask them. So discount, I've had the pizzas discount on Tuesday. There is a Yalelo discount on Thursday. There is the smart card. I mean, NSSF has done the smart card, and it's also another center of discounts. Everything you can purchase using the smart card is a discount. Why we did that is because we keep telling you, as financial literacy, as NSSF, we keep telling you, save, and you're saying we don't have money. Now we are saying we are handing you a tool where you will have a discount. Start saving with that discount. Thank you. Side hustle. I just want to attend to a lead. Side hustle, and this is the position. I want you to quote me on this, and this is the position of of us at the financial literacy unit. You have no business doing a business if you are not performing at your workplace. The teacher who said that, I don't know if you have exploited and explored everything that there is in teaching. I mean, there is an acute lack of teachers of integrity, good teachers. While they say that teachers are floating, schools are looking for good teachers. They are always on the look for good teachers. So I feel you need to first explore your own trade and see that you have exploited everything. And if you have exploited everything, you might find that you don't have actually time to do these other things. Some people usually the non-performers are the ones getting into side hustles. And anything you call a side may never actually get to perform the way you want it to perform. If it is a hustle, make it your main hustle. Make it your main hustle. That's when you will deliver. You have no business doing business if you are not performing. That side hustle will always fail, and I will tell you, it's not the economy, it is not the government, it is not that it was undercapitalized. It will always fail because you are into the habit of not performing. You're already not performing where they are paying you. Now how are you going to perform where you need to pay yourself? So I just needed to bring out that a little bit. And every business you need to do, every business you want to do, kindly, the benchmark is the treasury bill. What is the treasury bill giving you? Treasury bill, you do not need to be there to do this work. If the treasury bill is giving you 12%, go interrogate that business. Is it giving you much more above that for you to get into that? Is it worth? If it's giving you 13 and this is giving you 12, is it worth? I got this advice from Japheth of Innovation Village, and it's one of the best advice I've gotten through on the conferences I've seen. He was speaking at an entrepreneurs conference, the young entrepreneurs, and he was telling these people, if you are an entrepreneur or a budding entrepreneur and you have not started, the best advice I can give you is don't start. So I want to say the same thing, because entrepreneurship is a whole different ball game. It is not where you're going to put money and it's coming out tomorrow immediately. Businesses need to be given 7 years at least for you to see the first profit. So whichever business gives you the profit in the first month, praise God for it. But that is a business that's not a business that will last. Businesses go for 7 years when they haven't posted a profit. So are you ready to go through that? Check yourself. Value. As this platform, we have always talked about value. What is the value you bring on table? What are you bringing on table? While we are talking about people who are your peers, your age mates, your course mates, your same graduates who are getting 3 times what you are getting, what is it that they are doing? For you are talking about the money is not enough. The money cannot be enough because you are not producing enough value. We always say here that you are overpaid, because what they are paying is even over and above what you are supposed to receive. What's the value? What value do you bring at work? The network, what value do they bring to you? And what do you bring to them? And this is personal. Ladies and gentlemen, I always want to say that whatever we are doing here, the responsibility goes back to you. It is personal. When your children are asking you that, hey, you worked with Uncle Brian, you even went to school the same, but Uncle Brian is flying. For you have never even taken a taxi, an Uber. They will be asking those questions, and you will probably get what we call at that point, entondo. Why are my children saying these things? But they are actually asking, they are wondering, why is it that 2 people got the same exposure, you turned out differently? It's your habits, and it's personal. We don't say all this so that we can suffocate you into a box. We actually say this so that you can have a life. You live once. You live only once. I think that YOLO thing. But how do you live it? How do you live that once? You need to live. I like what David says. Get the money. Keep the money. Grow the money. Sustain the money, and then eat the money. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful thing, eating money. Most of us are just going from getting to eating. You will never enjoy that money. You're actually eating it at the corner, and you are wondering, wow, tomorrow. Okay, let me eat. You'll even intoxicate yourself. You say, let me drink, so that tomorrow will take care of itself. You have to drink it under the, you have to eat that money under the influence. But if you obey the laws of the natural laws of money, get it, keep it, grow it, sustain it, I mean, no one is going to blame. And I have had one of my panelists say this in one of these. No one will blame Sudil when he throws a 1 billion shillings wedding for the daughter. He's eating money. He has, there is a lot where the billion shillings came from. It came from $1 billion. I mean, if you have 200 million and you buy a car of 50 million, how is that wasting money? You have the money, but you are buying a car of 50 million and your entire clan, you are collecting and you are at 20 million. Things will turn out. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always a pleasure having you. As we wind up, as we get into the bit of winding up this session, this is the time when I make sure that I have been having good students and quite obedient students, and this is when the moderators who have been the event bosses for the last 2 hours also turn into students and would want to ask and get from them, what are those parting remarks and what is that homework you can give to the students that converge themselves for 2 hours listening to you? What are those things? I will start with Brian, then I will go to David, and then come to Maria before we wind up. So Brian, what are those things? By the way, Brian, we need to congratulate you on all those very many shows you are doing. And then challenge you that on those, add on one for financial literacy.
It is coming.
Yes.
I will come to the headmaster's office.
Yes, he has been doing Kalango here for so many things, but now let's also challenge him. And for next year, when you're doing your goals, it needs to be one of those top goals. Yes. And we'll call you again around the same time and ask you.
Yes.
Account.
Absolutely.
So, what is it that, now that we are winding up this segment of December, January blues, what is it that you want people to go away with?
So for me, those of you who have heard my story, I fear poverty. It's like, for me, poverty is a curse, right? So I do whatever it takes to be liquid. I think if you forget everything, remember to be liquid. And there are so many ways you can be liquid. There's been so much information about the avenues that you can use to make money without making money, where your money is working for you. So for me, I have monetized my ability to speak. I have done even some of your weddings. Those who are looking at me, I've come to your companies to do your corporate events. And so monetize things in your life that you think, people, yes, all of us talk, but not all of us ably talk, right? There might be an MC in your family. Some of you are MCs in your family functions, birthday, you are the one, but you have never monetized that. So monetize whatever you can. But also, I think for me, the way I grew up taught me a lot to save money. My mother, we owned a small shop at home on the balcony. We've never owned a supermarket, but seeing her grow that money. Yeah? So some of you only want to save when you earn 10 million shillings. But what if you never earn 10 million shillings in your life? So that 1.5, save your 10K, right? Start saving. And January will be one of those things. The other thing, finally, that I always do, I buy bulk stuff so that January doesn't catch me unaware. In January, my kids should still eat chips. My kids should still eat rice. My kids should still eat spaghetti. So what do? I go to Chikubu and I buy 50 kgs and I put at home. So while people are saying, Simanya what? For us, we are enjoying life. Enjoying. Because you bulk purchase. Some of these things.
And sometimes at discount.
Very huge discounts.
Mr. Discount Center.
Very huge discounts. Yeah. So please take care of these. Look out for these things, because as you grow up also, some things no longer, it doesn't matter where you eat as long as you've eaten. when you the more so the older I've gotten, like some things don't really matter. My kids are my priority now. Do I pay school fees? Great. Do they have a good education? Great. Those are things that I'm ticking off, right? And like Maria said, prioritize your needs, then act accordingly.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you so much. Quite monetize. I think I'm taking one thing. Monetize your speaking abilities. Ladies and gentlemen, my relatives, where we have been doing birthday parties and I was the MC. I am not available. Brian tells me monetize. Now I am looking at those weekends and I am seeing that cash flow. I am, ladies and gentlemen.
Can I be your
Headmaster,
manager?
can I tell you how I started hosting events?
Yes, sir.
My friend was getting married, like true story, and I'll always forever appreciate that gentleman. It's called Michael. He was getting married and he was looking for an MC. And he said, "Ne Mulondo nkulira nnyo weeyogeza, you know, I think you can MC." Yeah? And I'm like, "Are you serious?" I used to MC all school events.
Brian was the entertainment
I was
prefect
the
in school.
head of entertainment at Mengo. Naye munangoloza bansasula. Naye tebansasula. But my friend told me, "Mulondo, please MC my wedding." And I'm like, "No." It's like, "Okay, I'll pay you." I'm like, "You mean you can pay me to MC?" The guy gave me 500,000. This is like 10 years ago.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Now I charge twice.
I am not
50
available
times.
for birthday parties. I am picking that from you. I am picking
Yes,
that from you.
monetize.
I am now available at a fee. I don't know which one, but we'll talk after.
You
Do you
can.
need a manager?
Fiscal manager.
David can has HR services. He can recruit.
Thank you. So, and my network is already building around this idea, but I'll first go solo for this time. David, you are the HR manager. You are the person who deals with persons. You are actually one of those persons who has the hugest staff complement in the country.
Yeah.
I think you then Centenary Bank, maybe Bank of Uganda, somewhere, but you are one of those. What message would you want them to go with for this December? I mean, you do not want people frequenting the HR system asking for advances and you having to put them in counseling centers. What is it that you want? And what is it that you challenge people to do? Brian has challenged us to monetize some of our abilities.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think if we stopped even on Brian's points, I think we'd have gone far. The one thing is to take action. And because sometimes you listen to people, maybe you don't like Brian's message, you don't like mine, you don't like Mariam's, you're thinking, just take action for yourself. If you do nothing, take one action. The other one that I'd say that you spoke about is be a person of value in every moment. So whatever it is you're doing now, are you doing it well enough that you deserve a second thing? You must first show value in what you're doing now for you to earn something else. And I think that comes with then thinking long term. Because if I'm thinking short term, there's no point in me doing extra. There's no point in me trying to be better, right? There's no point in me showing up at my best, even when I don't think it matters. But because I know I am the first person I'm investing in is me, for me to monetize myself, I must build value here, right? So like Brian said, they used to pay 500, now they pay 10 times or 100 times more than that. I don't know. It has taken time. And he has done free gigs, he has done school, I don't know what he has done. He can tell us his story. Maybe one day he will, around being a person of value. Think long term, and then build in those habits and take one action. Even if you want to save that 10,000 on the 1.5, just the habit of I now save is a different you. And the smallest degree of change over time, right? You'll be in a totally different location because you're making progress. And I think, don't think about beating January blues once. Beat January blues forever. Let your January be, I don't know, the month that you celebrate, that reminds you of all the joy in your life for the rest of your life. And I think setting a goal like that, so that you're not beating January blues this January, then next year in 2024, we also find you in the same place, or we find ourselves in the same place. Let me not even talk about you. We must sort of say, how do we institutionalize and think long term, and change our destiny, not just change this January.
Thank you so much, David. And before you go away, you need to understand that I know we've spoken of black tax, we've spoken of relatives and friends, but while you are coming back, you remember you left us this side. So really, make it worth it, eh? Make it worth. Just saying. I'm just saying. Small things here and there. Just small talk. But thank you so much, David. Thank you so much for the time.
The old widow gave her 2 cents. So I will find some free chocolates and bring them.
Very good.
No, even you can even bring the in-flight chocolates. We okay. We okay. We'll start from there. We'll take the relatives that.
David, don't buy them from Chitoro, please.
Thank you so much, David, for making time. I know it is quite a hectic time. While we are celebrating December, as a person dealing with people, you are actually winding up and doing their different balance scorecards and making sure they get some money here and there in form of bonuses. So we appreciate when you take off 2 hours of your time in a foreign country to just sit and then deliberate this topic. Finally, let's hear from the fiscal manager. What are those parting shots and what book? What I've learned about this panel today is, much as they went to the same school, Brian, but I can't ask Brian to quote for me a book, but I will ask Maria to quote for me a book. Yes, Maria.
Thank you, Sir Headmaster, sir. One of the things that I would like to encourage us is to plan, and plan. David alluded to the fact that if you have a family, it is important to plan with them. My husband and I plan together. We plan for our money together and we agree on things that we are going to do. We also plan for our gifts. We are not the surprise kind. So we agree on the kind of gifts that we want, and if you need to put aside money to actually buy it for the person, you do that. That's a very, very important aspect. But also, secondly, I'd like to say that it is important for you to be content and happy with that which you have. Because if you do not find joy and happiness in that which you have, then you're going to live beyond your means to acquire that which you think you deserve or you need. So it's very, very important for you to be content and be happy with what you have. And finally, avoid spending in future. If you can avoid purchasing on debt, please do. Because once you borrow and you're in debt, then you mortgage away your future. You mortgage away your resources, because you live in a cycle of debt where you're getting money to pay this, to pay that, to pay that. So that's very, very important. One of the things that usually leads to debt and borrowing is group influence. You want to do something because your friends are doing it. You want to go for a safari because your group of friends are going for it. Today the girls are going to Turkey. The other day they are going to Dubai. The other day they are going to South Africa. The other day, all those different places. And none of them was on your plan. But simply because other people are going, you're going to find yourself borrowing money to actually do that. So, whereas it's very good to do it once you've planned for it, if you haven't planned for it, avoid doing it. I love to read because when you read, you improve your skill and your knowledge. So instead of one book, I'll give us 3 that will help us on this journey, and each of us can choose to read one at a time. But the one very good book that I like so much is a book by Ron Blue called Master Your Money. Ron Blue teaches us how to plan for our money in that book, and it's a very, very good book. It will show you different principles on how to plan for your money. The second book I'd like to encourage us to read is Double Blessing by Mark Batterson. Again, in that book, he encourages us to be a blessing to someone, to double that blessing, that which the Lord has blessed you with. If you share it with someone else, if you give it away, then you're doubling the blessing. And giving and generosity is not an issue of the pocket; it's an issue of the heart. So that's also one other book that I'd like to encourage us to read. And then Tiny Atomic Habits by James Clear is one of the books that teaches you how to drop the bad habits and develop and grow very good habits. And then finally, on spending, I'd like to say spend on your needs and not your wants, because if you keep spending on your wants, you will soon sell what you have and what you need to be able to get that, to satisfy yourself on the needs. And on saving, saving is small consistency putting aside of money. Therefore, you do not wait to spend and then save, rather save and spend what is left after saving. Thank you very much.
Well said, well said. In there were so many tongue twisters, there were so many riddles, and I'm wondering, Brian, yes, you went to the same school, are you sure? Anyway, we'll leave it and then take it off screen because I have never heard Brian's English this articulate. And thank God that he hosts the show he hosts. But thank you so much, Brian. Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you so much, David. This has been time well spent. There are quite a number of take homes for everyone, but this is what we always encourage. It's personal. Pick out what works for you. We get paid, not them, me I get paid. Me I get paid to stand here and talk. And the last 2 hours I'm still billing and I'm getting paid. These gentlemen and ladies, they offer their service. But you who offers your time to listen to this, who pays you? You only get paid when you take action. At NSSF, we believe ACT is an acronym for action changes things. If things have not changed in your life, it's because you lack action. Have a blessed Christmas, and let's see you next year, and let's change this story. From NSSF and the Financial Literacy team, we thank you for that support you've given us. We thank you for this participation, and we say see you next year.